All right, welcome to Pass the Mic for Friday, October 21st. This is episode 46. Joining me via Zoom, we got my co-host, Mike Gervasi, and now we also have our first Zoom guest, Carlson alum, director, talented, multimedia talented, Mr. Jaden Payne. So welcome to both of you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
It's 202 Trey, so let me just play. I'm Snoop Dogg. I'm on the mic with Dr. Dre. That's a shout out to my man Twan. I gotta give this little plug here. Dre and Snoop are doing an album together right now.
Excellent. I think it's Snoop Dogg's birthday today too.
Is it really?
If you look it up, because when I looked up my birthdays today, we're another first. This is the latest we've ever recorded Past the Mic. This is another first for us at 9:45 Eastern Standard. And I look up birthdays when I do the end of the day announcements, and Snoop Dogg was on there. I'm almost positive.
October 20th. There it is.
October 20th. Look at that. You didn't even know. October. But also Tom Petty, rest in peace, because we always like to bring up
so
dead
why couldn't
people.
you play Snoop on the announcements?
It's a little easier to play some Tom Petty. And then I accidentally played the wrong Tom Petty song, but
which one did you play?
I already forgot. If I pulled up my phone, I already forgot. I don't even remember. It was one of the slower ones. So before we get into talking with our guest and bringing him on board, feedback from last week. Do you got anything, Mr. Gervasi?
I do. So got a few shout outs on the Pimp Juice. Nelly's Pimp Juice. And actually, I don't know if this is, there was a reply all from, shall we say, a member of your family, one who's actually in the educational field, joking to on a parent group about how she has all these singles because of her side hustle. So yeah, I'll let you run with that.
I don't know anything about that. I'm not the union representative for that district. I did get some feedback. Mr. Pack sent me a text photo this morning getting blasted in the face by low-hanging trees on his 5 a.m. walk. So complaining about that. Again, we're beating a dead horse. So many people blasting Kroger and how awful it is. My wife has now joined that group and says how awful. And then Miss Fowler, Crystal Fowler, wanted to wanted to say that Tuscaloosa is not overrated and that it's actually a great college town. So,
okay.
However, who won the big Tennessee-Alabama game?
Oh my God, what a scene, man! Holy cow!
Knoxville.
Great game.
Yep. So that's what we got there. So enough of feed. Let's get to the current times and what we want to again go back to our guest here, Jaden, former student council member of mine. Great, very talented family. His sister is a current Marauder, has an older brother, right? Your older brother was also a student council member.
Yes, I believe so.
Yep. And Sophia was the princess to my son, freshman prince last year. Yep.
Yes, which is crazy for me to see. I still think she's 8 years old in my head. So her growing up is wild.
Well, ironically, Nate acts like he's 8 years old. So that's.
Hey, I gotta say too, Jaden is the second person I coached in 8th grade basketball we've had here. And it was on the same team as Hottie, actually.
Yes, same team. Yeah.
What did Hottie get in trouble for?
He did the
threes.
That thing.
Mr. Payne never had that problem. Didn't get benched or anything.
Don't believe so, but I still tell. I've told my wife the story of that one time. I believe we lost the big lead, and you came in and you kicked a trash can in the locker room, and you had to apologize for it afterwards. But I always wish that you hadn't, because I thought I thought you're just showing passion, a lot of energy. Middle school me thought that was really cool. So
yeah, well, you guys looked like you had seen a ghost when I did it.
Little Bobby Knight.
It was probably the second game or first game. It might have been the first game that we played. That was my first game as a middle school coach. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I remember that game quite well. And actually, Mike, it was against Wyandotte. So
I've come full circle. I'm friendly with Wyandotte now. So
yeah, that's true.
So before we get into talking about why we're having you here, we're going to do our standard interview start off questions. So my question is, it's your birthday, and you have the choice of you're either eating in or going out. So if you're going out, we want to know what restaurant we're going to. If we're eating in, that's fine. We want to know who's cooking. And what is your go-to birthday meal? You can get anything you want, anywhere you want. So what are we doing?
I feel like I would probably eat in. My wife is a great cook. She cooks all the time. She's got like a million cookbooks in the kitchen. Honestly, just a classic like stir fry chicken bowl with some veggies.
Oh,
That's like my
I lo-
go-to. I eat that. I eat like a cheap version of it for lunch, and then like maybe like one day a week, my wife will actually make it well for dinner because I just
Yeah,
throw it in the air fryer.
yeah,
But that's like
healthy.
yeah, I'm a man of routines, so just
Okay.
sticking with my guns there. So.
I'm really surprised how often we get the eat-ins on this
I
question.
know, I
Almost
know.
almost every one is a eat-in, which is fine. I mean, that's it's just interesting.
I
Okay, Mike, question to you now. You're
Yeah. So Jaden, you're eating this meal. Who's it going to be with? Anybody alive or dead?
Alive or dead?
One person.
Every time that I'm asked like the question of like who I could talk to alive or dead, I always think back to like founding fathers. I'm a huge fan of. I always very much enjoyed learning like American Revolution history. So any of the founding fathers really, big Hamilton fan. I've seen the play. I have seen the play at the Fisher. Big Hamilton fan. So yeah, I feel like I'd want to ask him. I'd want to present to him his play to see what he'd think about it. But I
oh
feel like that would be an interesting conversation. So.
Okay, that's cool.
yeah,
All right.
interesting, very good. All right, so reason we have you here. Well, we'll get to that at the end. I think I want to talk about we'll wrap up with your film. I want to
Mhm.
start with what are some of the creative? Obviously, you're a filmmaker, screenwriter as well. Do you write the script?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
what
All independent. Yeah.
when did you start venturing into this sort of creativity? Did it start in high school? If not,
Yeah.
when? And if it did, like what pushed you to it? And what are your sort of favorite outlets that you like to use?
Yeah. I think you kind of answer that question a lot as an artist when it all started. And I think the earliest I can date it back to is I had a very wonderful third grade teacher named Mr. Hoffman at Hunter Elementary. And he kind of always allocated, I think it was on Wednesdays, we had like 2 hours of just writing where we were in third grade. I'm not even sure if I knew how to spell 50% of the words that I was writing correctly, but I wrote like comic books back then, and my mom still has them like under her bed somewhere. And that was like the first time I really remember connecting with like storytelling and creating. But then I got really into baseball and sports, and I feel like that's kind of like this thing where you can't be an artist and an athlete. That's like it's just like two things that don't really mesh. In fact, when I got to college and I was an art major and I was also playing baseball at college, when I told people that, they always kind of looked at me a little strange, like those two things, like I was supposed to be like a sports management major or something. Um, but yeah, so I kind of lost it in middle school a bit, but I did get back to it in high school. It started with graphic design. That's what I do. That's my day job, and that was one of my majors in school was graphic design. And I got really into like sports graphic design in high school, and that was what made me kind of want to venture into it. But I think by about my junior year was when I started kind of trying to write a lot more. And then throughout college, I took like fiction classes and creative writing classes that got me into writing as well. So.
Hmm.
Very cool. Not to make you feel old, but Mr. Hoffman was a teacher when I was in sixth grade at Hunter
Oh,
Elementary back
okay.
in the day. I had Mr. Graziano, but we'd switch for a subject, and I had Mr. Hoffman for something. I
Yeah.
was much earlier in his career. I'm sure you were at the tail end of his
Yeah, I
career.
think I think so. Yeah, I think he
Yeah.
retired shortly after, if I remember
Now,
correctly.
why would that make him feel old? Shouldn't that make you feel old? I mean, that's
No, that we had the same teacher.
A little bit of
You know,
both.
okay. I
Yeah, a
guess.
little
yeah,
bit
I
of
guess it's
both.
both. I mean, interesting. Hey, how about that? 2 hours a day just to free write? Wouldn't that be nice with
Oh
all the
man,
requirement?
that
Yeah.
sounds cool.
I
That
don't know
sounds.
how that plays out for the SAT.
Yeah.
But no, that's really interesting. What about getting you talked, by the way, also comic books in the library world, we call those graphic novels nowadays.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah,
But
I'll make sure I change that.
what then grew that from into film, and what made you, because that's a whole another big
Yeah,
step. So what, in a whole nother big price tag of like technology, and so
for
what
sure.
stepped you
Yeah.
into that?
So it was, I think I really just always wanted to be a storyteller. I think that was kind of something that I realized in high school was that I really loved telling stories. I loved seeing movies. I've always loved going to the movie theaters. Um, but that's not really something that you can, when I was taking, I was in like AP calculus and AP English, I was like a very like structured high school student that I was studying all the time. And that wasn't really something that I was going to tell my parents that I wanted to go to film school or something. So I was a little bit like timid to do that. So I chose, graphic design is like this art medium that is known for its career and on like the business side, and you can kind of get like a stable job and it's less risky. So that was kind of like how I ventured into graphic design. But then once I got to college, you kind of, I kind of started to like grow into, the actual artist that I wanted to be. And I had a lot of very great professors that, were, I started in photo. I started doing a lot of photography work.
Now your
And
brother
as a,
does that, right? Is that
Yes. Yeah, my brother is a very talented videographer. He works for I actually work right across the street from him. I currently work as a graphic designer for Little Caesars. And then right across the street he works for the Illich News Hub is what it's called. So he does a lot of the Red Wings videography right now.
awesome?
So that was a big reason why I also got into film as well, because my brother and I could collaborate kind of in that way. But yeah, it was really just a combination of learning a lot of the elements of design in college and then learning photography. And then, I'd always had that love for storytelling in my back pocket. And really film is just kind of a combination of the three, just taking everything that you've learned in art school. And I had been working with a camera and a lens. And so just kind of turning it from a picture to a motion picture was kind of the next step to connect storytelling back into it all.
Now are your parents cool with it now?
Yeah, they're cool with it. I mean, I think that was probably just high school me being a little bit too worried. I think, my parents are very supportive and they always have been. I think they would have been cool with it back then too. But it's a risk, to go to film school or to go to art school without one of those like corporate jobs in mind is always a risk. So I wasn't a big risk taker in high school, so I chose graphic design.
um, I listen. I've always this is. I mean, you mentioned the arts and the sports. More hierarchical. You have to kind of follow the team, and whereas art, you're kind of
Mhm.
more individualized. I'm just curious because I don't know anything. What type of equipment are you using in this type of? Because I have
Yeah.
no clue.
So I've this is my third short film now, and my brother has very fortunately made a lot of connections in the production company world, to where we're kind of the first two films we borrowed. These are like five, six, $7,000 cameras from his bosses and things like that. And then this time we started out with that, but my brother got really swamped with work and we couldn't borrow the camera anymore. And so that was kind of like a decision that I had to make. We had probably shot about 10% of this film, and kind of realized that we weren't going to be able to use the camera anymore. And I didn't really have. I mean, I probably spent, if I had to guess, I probably spent like $900 total making this film, which is like like film festivals wouldn't even consider that a budget. They would consider that zero, basically.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I kind of had a decision that I rented a camera for one weekend. We had it for 48 hours, and I think my sister and I and my wife, she helped. We shot for probably 24 of those 48 hours, and then slept for the rest, and then woke up and did it again. And so it was a long weekend that weekend, but it's expensive equipment, very expensive. And most like on-set films would also have a lot more lighting than what we used. But when you're doing it independently, you kind of cut the budget somewhere, and you have to make some choices along those lines. So
Hmm.
So did your brother, you mentioned your brother earlier when we talked about this, is he helping with this film at all, or was that just with the equipment early, or does he have any role?
um
Will he be in the credits, I guess I should ask?
yes, he's definitely in the credits. We shot, it was a day probably in like the middle of July, where we actually shot the very ending of the film first. That was the first thing that we did, and he was the cinematographer for that, which is amazing because he is much better with a camera than me, and he's very good at what he does.
Probably better
But
than Wally too, if you've watched our European videos.
probably, yeah. um,
Man, that's
and
too soon. Jeez.
but yeah, he kind of had to back out just because at the same time we both have full-time jobs, and he also has two children. So he's pretty busy guy these days. So I kind of had to quickly teach myself how to work this camera that we rented. And I think based from what I can see, I think that you'd probably be able to tell what my brother shot versus what I shot. But that's part of the fun, is when you're doing these things, you're also learning at the same time. So
All right, so let's get to why we're here. So the film is called Eight Count. It comes out
mhm.
a week from today, right? The 27th, a
Yes.
week from third. Well,
Mhm.
a week from Thursday. We're recording on the 20th. This will
Right.
come out on our show will come out on the 21st. It comes out October 27th. It's going to be on your YouTube channel. Why don't you just give
Yes.
us like a little synopsis of what the film's about? You can plug the channel, plug the I guess is your chance to plug it to
Yeah.
the Pass the Mic listeners.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah, I love talking about myself. So,
That's why we
so
do it every week.
Yeah.
yeah, no, that's kind of the job of an artist, and having a podcast is, but so yeah, it's called 8 Count. It's about a young 15, 16-year-old dancer who struggles with an eating disorder. It is pretty lighthearted in tonality when it comes to that subject. I've worked in pretty heavy-hearted tonalities before, and I wanted to try to be more lighthearted. But again, it's not really a lighthearted subject, so it can get pretty deeper at times. But yeah, her name is Alyssa Montgomery. The character is played by my sister, who's a very talented dancer already. So that was kind of one of the check marks booked off. And it's all narrator based. So there's a narrator throughout the whole thing that kind of follows along the very meticulous style of a young girl with an eating disorder might have, and how she's also trying to keep the secret because she knows what she's doing is wrong. So she's trying to keep the secret from her family and friends at the same time, and kind of how that secret begins to unravel and how she begins to deal with it towards the end of the film. So
And I sort of asked you this before we went on the air in a little discussion we had. It's you're pretty much ready to roll like a week out, right?
mhm.
Like you feel your product's there and done, right?
Yeah. So basically, I would say about a month ago, I had a pretty set timeline. It's settling in about 24 minutes, which is about 3 times as long as the other 2 films that I made. So it was a much bigger project for me this time around. And basically, what I do is I get those 24 minutes put on like a private link on YouTube, and I just I send it to like a select few people, and I watch it myself, and I take notes. And for really like the last month, you're just kind of fine tuning the details, and like I had said before, I'll probably be fine tuning those details for the next couple of days until the day of, and then I'll make sure that it's cleaned up and ready to go.
And now I have to ask, I got to know your sister a little bit last year in class.
Mhm.
Wonderful, wonderful student. Is this the first time she's done something like this? And how is she liking it?
Yeah, I think if you know her a little bit, I'm sure she's big on attention. So she likes these she likes a camera in her face for sure. But it is her first time. It definitely not her first time dancing. She's a very talented dancer, and she
Right.
probably wouldn't tell you that, but she's very talented. She's won, awards at national conventions and things like that. So she's really good at what she does. But ever since my brother and I have been working in this medium, and she's always kind of been asking, oh, can I be in this one? Can I help you guys? And ever since she was like an 11-year-old, 12-year-old, and I was always kind of telling her like, one day we'll do something, one day. But when I had this idea for the script, I was like, oh, maybe it's finally time to ask Soph to help out here.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I think she had a lot of fun. Definitely apologize to her for the long days that I put her through. Like I said, we shot for, it felt like 48 hours straight, but she had a smile on her face the whole time, and that's kind of how she always is. So I think she enjoyed it a lot, and I think she did a great job, and I think she'll hopefully get some compliments by her peers when it comes out. So
Can I also, okay, so now you just mentioned shooting for 48 hours straight. You said, now you said it's about a 24-minute movie, right?
yes, yeah.
So I don't know, I'm sure there's not a rule of thumb, but how long, so a 24-minute movie, how long in totality did it take you to
Yeah.
put this thing together?
Yeah, I mean, I think I could probably date that back to, I think I was in my car. It was December of 2020, so still kind of like the pandemic. I was finishing up my senior year of college, and I was in the car really late at night. And the idea for what will be the climax of the film kind of came to my head as I was driving around. And I wrote it in my notes app on that day, which is kind of cool because now I can always like look back and say it was that day when the idea first started. And then ever since, yeah, just kind of I wrote it as a short story at first, so just kind of like freehanded it into a story, and then converted it to a screenplay format. And then we started shooting. I finished the screenplay around April of this year, and then we started shooting in July. And we did one weekend in July and then one weekend in August. So it took us about 4 or 5 days total to shoot. And I think by the end of it, I think we had like 3 or 4 hours worth of footage that gets condensed down to, like I said, about 24-ish minutes. So
Okay.
Just goes to show you the amount of work and time that goes into it.
Right.
And flopping back to talking, your sister, I was speaking to her at my desk the other day when we were talking about having this podcast. I can just say that she thinks the world of you, and this movie. She's as excited, I think, as you are, as we can see you here today, and was going on and on about the great relationship she has. And I'm not surprised by this, knowing you from working with you and your brothers. And I can see, you know, we're friends on social media, and I
Yeah.
see I'm friends with your older brother. It's a great family dynamic, and it's something that, you know, people, you're blessed. You're blessed with a great
Yeah.
siblings and great family, and that's probably what makes this work as well. Also, you know, some families, spending 48 hours with some families, that might be a horror movie. You know.
No, for sure. Yeah, no, it's a great time. And I had professors in school whenever, you know, I would, you know, have my brother's name on a project or something, they'd always tell me, oh, it's always the brothers that are able to work together. And, you know, you're so lucky to have a brother that does something similar to what you do. And I can definitely attest to that. And then, yeah, my sister is, you know, I think she has to be like the happiest person I've ever met in my life.
Oh,
She's
yeah.
just always smiling. And so, yeah, no, I know that she was very excited to doing this for the, you know, 2 years that I was talking about it. And then, like I said, I think she did a pretty good job at it. So,
Well, hopefully we can have you guys come in for alumni picnic with the principal, since we're back to
yeah,
open guests. So,
yeah, that would be
again,
awesome.
do you just want to plug like your YouTube channel right now where people will be able to go see this? So I don't want
Yeah.
to mess anything up.
Yeah, no. So you should just be able to find it under Jaden Payne, just my name, Jaden Payne. Usually, if you just look up my name, a couple of my other films will pop up, and you can find my page through there. And then I'll also my handle on most socials is at Jaden Payne Art, so just art at the end. And I'll be posting about it quite a bit throughout the.
Yep.
Throughout
And
the
we'll
next
post the
weeks.
link on the Pass the Mic Facebook page and whatnot once
Yeah, thank
once
you.
we put this episode out. So that's going to bring us to overrated, underrated this week, and we hope you take part in this. So we figured, what better way? We'll keep it movie related. And we last fall, remember, Mike, we did overrated, underrated horror movies, so we're not doing that. But we are going to do overrated, underrated going to the theater, going to the movie theater to see a movie.
Right.
All right. So
Okay.
we'll start with Mike Gervasi, and I can go to you. We'll do the notes. So, and again, disclaimer: overrated doesn't mean bad, right? But that was what we told Crystal Fowler with Tuscaloosa. It was bad. So overrated going to the movie theater. What do you got for me, Mike Gervasi?
Yeah, mine's easy, man. This one did not take me any time whatsoever. I'm a popcorn fan, but movie theater popcorn, if you go and get butter, if you put any of the toppings on it that they offer, it is absolute. I don't think I've ever been to a theater where it was clean over there. So it's just
so it's not the taste, it's the setup.
Yes,
Presentation. Yeah.
I mean, people are.
It is gross.
Slobs, man. When it's not their thing, the people are slobs. So to me, it's gross. And it's, again, I'm a popcorn fan, but the idea of you got to get popcorn, you go to the movies. To me, getting it at a movie theater is just disgusting. So that's my overrated.
All right. Jaden, it's all yours.
Yeah, I think you know, I did have an answer prepared for this. I think I settled on the audience. I think that a lot of people go to the movies to be around other people, and I love going to the movies, but I strictly go for the big screen and the surround sound and the dark lights. But I don't really care if anybody. I know like some people are disappointed when they go in their theater and there's only like one or two other people, but I would rather like rent out the whole theater if I could.
I would love that. That would make my day.
It's not disappointing at all.
I specifically I don't go often. I usually wait for I don't want to go opening weekend. I'll wait a few weeks, and then that way it's old news by then, and then there's like 3 other people in there, and some odd time too. Not like Friday at 7 p.m., but like a Wednesday at 2:30 in the afternoon.
Yeah, no, I think, you know, the audience reactions have kind of been popularized by the Marvel movies coming out, and I get I get the novelty in that, but I think that, you know, I'm usually pretty relieved when I walk in the theater and there's, you know, very few people in there. So.
Excellent. My overrated, and this is going to sort of branch off of yours, Mike, and this is going to surprise a lot of our followers, is just the concessions in general. Food at the movie theater, all overrated. You hit it on the nose with popcorn. It is good. Movie theater popcorn is good, but the way that it's done now, it's so disgusting. I mean, I saw somebody stick a straw into the butter so they can funnel more butter into the popcorn. Why anyone would want to sit and eat a slice of pizza or an order of nachos or even pretzel? I don't need a big meal at the movie theater. It's gross. again, and I'm a guy that loves my food. I'll have a great meal anywhere. One place I do not want to eat and I don't need to eat, movie theater, overrated, all aspects of it. Maybe just like a box of candy or something, but I don't even need that. So, and again, and then also along those same lines, these places, oh, you can get drinks when you go to the movie theater, right? I did that one time, and then like I had to go use the bathroom. Like I'm missing the best part of the movie because I drank this jumbo 32-ounce Miller Lite, so family friendly Miller Lite. So overrated are definitely concessions. So that's,
I respect
and
that.
again, that might shock people because normally like I love, I love eating everywhere I go. So, all right, what do we got for underrated, Mike?
Yeah, so I this one I was kind of torn. I was gonna say the previews, but it really that's not underrated at all because I think a lot of people like the previews. So for me now, as these theaters are keeping up with the times, they're trying to make it more comfortable for the consumer. To me, the chairs now are just awesome. It is like you could almost fall asleep, which I guess defeats the purpose of going to the movies. But they are so comfortable. I went this summer, and I just couldn't help with it. Man, this is great. And you go lay all the way back,
hit the little button.
Yeah, hit the button. Go. It's awesome. So that to me is underrated. I think it's the best part of the movie theater.
All right, Jaden.
Yeah, I think this one might toe the line of underrated, but I'm gonna have to throw out the IMAX theater. I think I think a lot of people like don't think it's necessary. I think a lot of people, maybe some people have never been to an IMAX theater, but a lot of filmmakers these days are actually using IMAX specific cameras so that the quality of the picture is better when you go to IMAX theaters, and they have the whole immersive experience. To me, that's like when I go to the movies, I want to like basically be transported somewhere else for like 2 hours, and then when I leave the theater, I like forget what time of day it is. That's like the perfect movie going experience for me. So I think IMAX, again, I'm sure some people really appreciate IMAX, but I think the majority of people either have never been or don't go enough. So that's my underrated.
Well said. Well said. I agree.
Very good. I said it earlier, I'm not a big movie theater guy. I mean, once a year, twice a year, I used to take Nate, like you said, you mentioned the Marvel movies. Those always used to hit around Memorial Day, and that was when his birthday was. So we would do that. Then COVID hit, and I haven't been. So, and especially nowadays, things like, bless the Ren Dog's heart. He reviewed Halloween, what is it called? Final Halloween or whatever it was. I don't even know.
Like the 8th one or something.
Final.
And I don't even know, but it was going to be on Peacock right after, and the Ren Dog purposely said, do not watch it on Peacock. And I'm like, no, I'm going to sit at home and watch it on my couch. My underrated, though, I don't mind watching on my screen. You'll never match the audio of the movie theater. When you're watching those, especially those blockbusters, when you're literally rocking in your seat because it's so loud, and I don't care how much you spend on a home surround sound, you can never match what a movie theater has. So to me, that is definitely the most underrated aspect of going to the movie theater, especially if you're seeing movies like I'd imagine like Top Gun was, or the Marvel movies where there's big explosions and action adventure stuff. You can never match that. And some people don't like it because it's too loud. I personally don't mind it. I think that's the one aspect that would ever get me to go to the movie theater. So underrated, definitely their sound systems. So we'd always love to hear what Pass the Mic fans. I'm sure we're going to anger some popcorn people that maybe these people that go buy it and bring it home and whatnot. So that's going to bring us to our hot mic topic. I don't know if you have one, Jaden. You're welcome to pop in if you do. You don't have to. Don't feel like you have to. But Mike Gervasi, do you have something for us this week?
Yeah. So you know what? I actually have another haircut experience, but I'm gonna hold off on that one until next week, and just because Jaden's a guest. So I don't know if I've plugged this historian before on the show, but he is really one of my favorite authors. His name is Yuval Noah Harari, and he's written a bunch of stuff. I think I did plug him: history of the past, history of the present, history of the future. And now he's doing graphic novels. And just in honor of Jaden being here, I guess I'm going to plug him for you. I'd love to, if you just look at one of his, they're so interesting, and it's coming out. I'm getting mine from Amazon tomorrow. I can't wait. His third graphic novel came out yesterday. Gotcha. But I really recommend this to anybody, even if you're not a history person. And I'm not a graphic novel person, but he does such a good job with these. It's written they're almost like a comic book type setting, but they're amazing. So I'm going to plug that. And like I said, Jaden, in honor of you being here, if it's something you'd look at, like I think you'd be interested in. So.
No, definitely. I'll have to check his work out for sure. I love a good graphic graphic novel. I for some reason, I love to write, but I'm a horrible reader, so graphic novels work well for me. I don't know why. Just
No, it flows, man. It's a really easy. They're really easy to read. It's really cool the way they're set up. So yeah, I strongly recommend them.
cool. Yeah, I'll have to look into it.
Do you got anything, Jaden, or do you just want to?
I don't have a hot
You
mic
can use it.
prepared,
The
but
one last plug of the movie or whatever you want.
I did, I did have, I know I've heard you guys do this before. I did have a mic of the week or mic of the day prepared.
Oh yeah.
Oh my
Look at that.
God.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
I did have that. I don't know. I hope he's never been mentioned before, but he's a Michigan man. Mike Posner, the musician, singer.
Oh yeah.
No.
I'm a huge fan of Mike Posner. He had like a couple of radio hits. I took a pill in Ibiza. I know family friendly podcast, but he never specifies which pill. It could be
Yeah, I mean, it was
Motrin,
probably an
could just be
ibuprofen.
Yeah, he could have just been, but
Vitamin D
he's
capsule.
known. Yeah, exactly. He's known for some radio hits, but I think some of his other stuff that never made the radio is great. And he's also he also walked across America on foot a couple years ago. He's just a really cool guy if you follow him on social media.
Do you know where he's from in the Michigan area? Like where?
He's from Detroit.
Oh,
born and
Detroit.
raised.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
Very
yeah, he's a
interesting.
Michigan man.
Jaden, I gotta tell you, with him, I know he had more than there was a few songs that really got some radio airplay, but I cannot disassociate. There was a song at the beginning of Criminal Minds as they lead into the horrible opening scene that song was being played, and I will never. That's the only thing I can associate him with now. It sucks because it's like it's a negative connotation. But,
I think he gets that rep because he was so big on the radio. But like I said, I love. He has an album called At Night Alone, which I love. It's like he's almost like a poet with that songwriting, and he actually ghost writes where you write the song for more famous people, but you never say it. I believe he said he's like ghost written for like Justin Bieber and like Jay-Z before. So he's a really talented guy.
Interesting. Well, I'm glad you caught us on that. I totally tied it because I didn't have a mic picked for this week either. So we'll have to get the picture and we'll have to send the picture home with your sister so you can sign it and date it. And then we'll go up in the studio. That's what we'll.
Perfect.
That's what we'll end up doing. Speaking of walking across the whole country, my hot mic take is my accomplishment of walking the half marathon, the international half marathon in Detroit. It felt like I walked across the whole country by the time I got to the. But I will just say that my first time ever doing it, what an experience! The city, and we've been plugging the city of Detroit for a while. What a beautiful! First of all, thankfully it was 60 and sunny compared to today's weather. I mean, when I started, I started at 7 a.m., 7:20. It was something Ken Secor and I had planned out. Ken had a few injuries that set him back, but he didn't go down with me, but we did it. It was an amazing event. I was flying through miles 1 through about 8 and 9. And then when I got to mile 10 in Midtown, my feet were feeling it, but I still finished. And just around the same time, some doofuses drove across the finish line in a rental car. They were leaving the Pontchartrain. And they somehow got on the course. Thankfully, I was hoping that if I would have been there, I would have like jumped on the hood or done something dramatic. But I just was a little too slow. I also even turned down some Miller High Life that with some friendly people in Midtown were handing out to the runners. I was so focused on my run that I know Miss Fournier will be upset that I turned down any free Miller High Life, but I did. But it's something that was exciting. I just loved walking across the Ambassador Bridge alone was a cool sight as the sun came up. So if anyone ever has a chance to do this, it well worth the 80 some odd dollars that I think if you do the early sign up. It's just to take advantage of the great city we have, and the people, the workers were so friendly, the police officers, the Custom and Border Patrol, everyone was friendly. It's just a great experience. So I just want to give a shout out to everyone that did that and completed it. Miss Crampton, Evie Crampton, and her sister, Dawn Paultanis, our co-worker that did it, Crystal Fowler and her father. We had a lot of people that did it. So congratulations to all of you. It was a blast. And anyone that wants to do it, I suggest doing it. If I can do it, Miller Lite chicken wing guy, anybody can do it.
Now, to be fair, you were limping around work a little bit.
I'm back to about 90% right now. I'm moving pretty good. I had some bad blisters on one foot. I don't know what happened with that foot, but I'm back to being healthy.
It's a lot of miles.
That is. When I saw, and that's only the half marathon. When I saw the people staying to the left that were doing the whole marathon, I was like, sweet Lord, I don't even know. I would need the ambulance. I also do want to give one last little plug. I got a phone call from Chloe today at U of M, And she's like, hey, I need to know about some podcasts. Which ones do you talk the most about education? And I said, well, we always talk about education. She's like, yeah, but sometimes you do goofy stuff. And I'm like, we do that too. But I told her that mainly the ones with our guests prior, Miss Crampton, Wally, those tend to have a little longer education segment just because of the design, because they're doing a little unit in their English class on podcasts, and the professor may be using an episode of Pass the Mic.
Oh man, and we have a teacher in our building is using the podcast.
Well, we started at Carlson High School, and now the University of Michigan Ann Arbor English department, Pass the Mic. We may be really hitting it big.
Maybe we'll get to meet Jim Harbaugh.
Maybe we'll get Mike Hart on the show.
Yeah, there you go.
He's back.
All right, he's back. Hey, how about, we've talked about this at work. I'm a Michigan man. We would win the national championship my first year as a fan. I might be the missing link.
By default,
all right, so that brings us to our normal end of the week discussion. We're going to talk about the Lions and Steelers, probably, right? Oh, well, first of all, go ahead and spike the basketball for your Pistons.
Yeah, big win last night versus the Magic. I'm not going to say I'm excited. The Magic and the Pistons are probably going to be bottom feeders in the East. But it was a nice win.
Okay, so and now the Lions versus Cowboys this week, right? Isn't that the game in Detroit, or is that in?
I believe it's in Dallas. That's a two touchdown loss.
Oh, you didn't even debate.
No.
No. Are you a Lions sufferer, Jaden?
Yeah, I think that's the perfect way to describe it. I was a huge Matt Stafford fan all my life, so was happy to see him win his Super Bowl, and that was kind of where I rode most of my allegiance was on the quarterback, which was cool because he did commercials for Little Caesars, and I was able to kind of have my hands in on that. Never got to meet him because he actually required our team to fly out to LA in order to shoot that commercial, but he's a big shot, so but I was able to at least have my hands on that. So
nice.
So when he won, was that, I mean, you didn't get Kelly Warren on our staff said his family was gathered around, they were cheering like it was a Lions game.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get that same feeling when
if
on the Super Bowl?
It felt good mostly because I placed the bet on them early in the playoffs, so that helped. But
definitely
I was also very happy.
Family friendly
win. Family. It was for Cole's Cash or something like that. It felt good to see Stafford win for sure, but nothing compared to if one day we're able to go down to the city of Detroit and celebrate. But that feels like a fever dream. So we'll see.
It does.
My Steelers, after their big upset of the Buccaneers, making Tom Brady look speaking of looking old, made him look very old in that game. They travel to Philadelphia, I believe, this week, and that's the national game. And I have a good feeling about this. I think they're going to end that undefeated streak. For
Mike Tomlin,
Eagles are still undefeated, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you're
very wrong, but.
On the topic of Brady being old, he actually came out today. I saw a quote on Twitter today that he said there's no retirement in his future anymore. So I guess family is out of the question.
Another former Detroit athlete who's saying that now is Justin Verlander, and he's he plans on pitching for a while longer, and he's doing it very well. So
yeah, very well.
Well, Jaden, I want to thank you for taking the time for us, and especially joining us late this year as we're wrapping up this late Thursday night. We wish you the best. You're a great guest. We'll send you that picture for you to get signed and dated. And good luck. Again, the film is 8 Count. It comes out on Jaden's YouTube channel October 27th. Be sure to check it out and have a good week. Thank you for joining us, Jaden.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, guys. It was a lot of fun.
Thanks.
See you guys.